Today is May 13th, 2021. My name is Jenna Masahira, and I'll be interviewing David Azzi for the Coquitlam Heritage Oral History Project. Just a reminder that this interview is being recorded and will be made available to the public. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So first, can you say what year you were born and where?
I was born in 1968 in Vancouver at St. Paul's Hospital.
Nice. And can you describe what your childhood home was like?
My childhood home?
Yeah.
We moved to the house we lived on, which is on Dawes Hill, when I was born. So it's the only house I ever really knew growing up. There's my mother and my father, and an older brother.
Nice. How much older was your brother?
He's 3 years older.
Did you get into any rough and tumble sort of?
Pardon?
How was that dynamic? Were you
we had different interests, I would say. I was more into sports. He was more into studying and stuff like that. So
what sports
we didn't spend a lot of time together. We didn't really fight that much. If we did, I wouldn't win anyway. So.
And what sports did you play?
I played soccer, lacrosse, and hockey.
Oh wow! Did you ever go higher level?
Soccer was pretty high. I had to quit the other two because of soccer, so I couldn't play all three at the top level. So I had to make decisions at a certain point. I can't remember exactly what year. I think I was probably about 14, 15 when I had to decide if I wanted to be a soccer player, hockey player, or lacrosse player. And soccer won out.
Any reason?
Probably because of the Italian heritage.
Do you have a favorite soccer team?
My favorite soccer team in Italy is Juventus. They're not doing very well this year, but we won't talk about that.
Okay. Did you have any pets?
Growing up, I had 3 dogs, not all 3 at the same time, but one at a time. And we had 3 dogs. Since then, I've had 5 more dogs. So quite a few dogs. No cats, no anything else. Just always dogs.
Okay. And so, growing up, did you have chores that you had to do?
I don't really recall doing very many chores. I mean, I would do the lawn, I guess, occasionally, not very well. Dishes, I guess we would have to do dishes, but we didn't do dishes by hand. We had a machine, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I was usually busy with sports. As soon as school was over, to dinner and then sports after. So doing chores was nothing that I really did that much.
In school, how was that for you?
School was. I'm thinking starting with elementary school.
Yeah.
Elementary school was right across the street, so it was a blast. I remember that. I remember having a lot of fun times in school. Junior high, I went to St. Thomas More, which is in Burnaby, so I had to take a couple of buses to get there. That was a little less fun. And in high school, I went to Port Moody Senior. My father was a teacher, so he was a teacher at Port Moody and insisted that I went there if I wasn't going to go to St. Thomas More. So I decided to go there, and maybe that wasn't the best decision either, because my father was one of the teachers, and he knew what was going on with me at all times. So, I mean, it might have been good, so I would behave, but I guess I didn't get in too much trouble after that. So it might have been a good idea.
Nice. Did you do post-secondary?
Pardon?
Did you do post-secondary?
Post-secondary? No. After high school, I went to Italy to become a soccer player. When I came back, I went to college as Douglas Cap. Got a job at Canadian Airlines in the accounting department. I went to night school at BCIT for 4 or 5 years and got a diploma. So that's as far as post-secondary as I did.
Oh, that's still good. It's backtracking. Well, did you have favorite subjects in school?
I remember in elementary school, I excelled sort of at math, and I really enjoyed geography. like the world and maps and weather, stuff like that. I did like science. I wasn't very good at it. As my father always said, I didn't apply myself. So maybe stop there.
As you mentioned, you went to St. Thomas More. So was your family religious?
We grew up Catholic, as most Italians do. We, of course, we played soccer on Sunday or lacrosse, or we missed church quite a bit, which was not good. But we always seemed to make it for Easter and Christmas, and what they call part-time Catholics, I guess. My children have grown up Catholic too. They've gone to Catholic school, so. But having said that, we're not practicing as well as we should.
Yeah. Life's busy.
I feel like I just did a confession. Don't tell Father.
I won't. No worries. So you mentioned you play sports a lot, but what other things did you do for fun? Did you family go camping or those sort of things?
Ooh, camping was a bad word in our
Okay.
family. My father did not like that. We traveled quite a bit, I would say. Whenever my father, like I said, was a teacher, so during summer he would have 3 months off, so we would go almost always to Italy to see his mother and sisters and brothers. We did spend 2 years in Germany. My father worked for the Canadian Armed Forces in 1970, 72. So we lived there. I was just 2 to 4 years old, so I don't really remember it. But after, in the summer months, we would go to Germany to visit where we lived. We'd buy a car, drive down to Italy, and spend, like I said, 3 months in Italy traveling. So most of the time we traveled for fun, but it wouldn't be Hawaii or Mexico. It would be always to Europe, which was a blast for me and my brother. And I still love it. I still love traveling. It's one of my biggest things is to get to travel.
And so in Italy, was that kind of where you sort of learned how to make food?
Yes, my mother is a great cook, and she cooked all our meals. So watching her and eating that, plus I had a few aunts that lived here that we would also often spend time with, like Christmas, big holidays, and stuff like that. They were phenomenal cooks. In Italy, I had an aunt and a grandmother who were great cooks, so we ate very, very well. And to eat that well, I figured I'd have to learn how to do it. So I would watch and ask questions, and that's pretty much it.
So you didn't really. So it was so it's mostly more learning by watching. And so did you go to school for?
I've taken several courses, but I've never actually gone to traditional cooking school. I'm one-dimensional. I'm just strictly Italian. I'm not very good at cooking any other ethnic cuisine, although I love eating all cuisines. But.
So when did you decide to, I guess, first you worked at Aware. Is that another restaurant?
When I get to long stories now. When I came back, when I got laid off at Canadian Airlines, which I knew we were all going to get laid off because the company was going under, I decided I wanted to open a restaurant. So I spent time doing catering, coming up with a catering company and selling it. When we finally did get laid off, I spent the time doing catering out of my house. And then my cousin, Roano, his name is, had an opportunity to open up a restaurant inside a clothing store, which was Aware. Aware was a clothing store. The owner of that was Alberto Leone, and he was friends with my cousin Roano. So we got the contract to open up a little cafe inside of the clothes store, which was my first restaurant, I guess. So we did that for 2 years. We were open for lunch. We made panini, sandwiches, pastas, pizzas, which kind of got me in the understanding of how to run a restaurant. Um, Other than that, I worked extensively. Well, I didn't really work. I didn't get paid. But I spent a lot of time with a friend that I had in Italy that I sort of grew up with. Like I said, I was there for 3 months of the year, so I had friends there that I grew up with from when I was small. And he ended up owning a restaurant. So when I lived there for a year, I spent a lot of time with him in the restaurant and cleaning up and stuff like that, and watching and taking down notes and writing recipes and so I was ready to cook the cuisine from that region of Italy. That's how I did it.
So after that, then you decided to open up the business.
After 2 years at Aware, I decided that I wanted to move on to my own and open out a restaurant in Coquitlam, which is where I grew up, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, as there wasn't really any other Italian restaurants in this area, so that's what happened.
I guess that's how was the first couple years of operating the booth?
Oh, well, the first few months I was by myself, cooking, cleaning, and serving, probably for about the first 4 weeks. So it was very stressful. I don't know how to say this, but it was probably not the best idea to open a restaurant with no money. But somehow it managed to take off, and I got to hire some people, and it steadily grew, and it's still been growing up until the last couple of years. I can't remember your question.
That was good. So, do you know, has your menu changed since it's been open?
I always wanted to keep things simple. I didn't want to really have a big menu. I wanted to stick with things that I knew and I was specialized in, and the cuisine exactly from the region that I was from, which I think is the best Italian food, obviously. So I wanted to make sure that I made that to the top quality that I could ever make it. And I knew there was other restaurants out there that didn't make that cuisine. So most of the cuisine that I made would be handmade, fresh pasta, stuff that was never even thought about in this area before I started doing it. Nowadays, there's more and more restaurants that actually do fresh pasta and spend more time on ingredients and quality of food rather than just big heaping slops on plates. That when I was growing up, that was Italian food, or that's what my friends thought was Italian food, and it really upset me. So this is why I wanted to make sure that I made proper food the proper way, even if the portions weren't big sloppy things on plates, which we don't see as much as we used to see back in the 80s or 90s, thankfully.
What region?
The region where I am is Emilia Romagna, which is south of Milan, north of Florence. Which, I'm obviously going to say it's the best region, but it is. It's where the Ferraris are made. It's where balsamic vinegar is from. It's where prosciutto's from, Parmigiano's from. Everything good about Italy is from that region, and I'll stick to that. I'll fight anybody that says otherwise.
Okay.
I won't fight them.
When you said not many restaurants are doing handmade pasta at the time. Was it easy to find the ingredients here when you were starting out for these foods? The simplicity of the food that I make, so it's not difficult to find the ingredients. There are some ingredients when I first opened that were difficult to find really good quality. For example, prosciutto, because prosciutto wasn't allowed to be imported from Italy. So the prosciutto that we had here would be Canadian, which was subpar to what you could get in Italy. Now it's all changed. Now that you can import pork products from Italy, so the salamis and the prosciuttos you can actually get straight from Italy.
But when I first opened, it was really difficult to find some of the ingredients. But like I said, most of the stuff I use are eggs, flour, which is pretty simple to get. Including quality eggs are good to find here, right? Because we're close to the farms, or close, like to Maple Ridge used to be farms anyway.
It's like you kept it simple. Like, have you ever like experimented a bit with it? Even
I do jack around once in a while. I try to come up with some new ideas, but my whole idea from the beginning was to cook the cuisine that was from the region that I was from, and cook it and don't bastardize it. So I didn't want to wreck it. I didn't want to North Americanize it. I wanted to keep it as traditionally Italian as I possibly could. And that's one of the words that I use always with when I'm talking to people. My food is traditionally Italian. It's not anything else. That's all. I don't want to. I mean, maybe one day I'll open up a different restaurant and I can experiment more. But right now, it's as traditional as possible.
right. And you said like your restaurant like became quite like very successful. What do you think attracted people to?
Like I said, I always wanted to. The quality of the food was the most important thing. It wasn't portion size. It wasn't. What else? It's always been just the quality of the ingredients, the quality of the food, and I think it took a while. Maybe because of the name of the restaurant, it wasn't traditionally Italian with the Italian words, but I think after a while, people started to understand that this was quality food, and let's get there, let's go there, and word of mouth. I think got most of the people, most of the customers, most of the clients are there because of word of mouth, and they appreciate quality food, and they return, and more people show up. So it's been snowballed into that.
So the boot, where did you come up with that name?
The boot. Well, originally I came up with the name the Golden Boot because it was a trophy for soccer for the top goal scorer in the tournament. But it also signified the boot of Italy, the shape of the country. So I thought that was a brilliant idea. We'll call it the Golden Boot. It didn't have to have an Italian name. People will figure it out. People will remember the name Golden Boot because it sticks in your head, and it'll work really well. In hindsight, I think maybe I should have used an Italian word somewhere along the line so that people would have known that it was an Italian restaurant. Because I think a lot of people drove by and went, what's a Golden Boot? I finally had to start sticking up signage with the boot of Italy so that people would know what it was. No. Sorry.
That's what editing's for.
Sorry. So the Golden Boot, that's it.
Yeah. And how's your family viewed your cooking or at the restaurant?
Pardon?
How's your family? Does your family enjoy your cooking at the restaurant?
Do they? Yes. My father eats there every day. My other family, I have cousins who come from the west side of Vancouver that come probably once a month to eat. So they obviously appreciate food from the region, which is tough to find. So they come and love it. Yeah.
Has any family or people from Italy ever come and eaten it?
I've had cousins from Italy come and they love it. Well, they say they love it. I hope they do. I mean, they're going to say they love it. Yeah. Unfortunately, most of my aunts that I learned from are all gone. My grandmother obviously is gone. So it's kind of sad, but it's also good to keep the legacy going of the food that they made. I mean, that's not why I do it. I do it because I love the flavor of it. But it's also nice to have the legacy that it's not going to change. what they made is still what I make, and hopefully my children will make the same thing, and not change. Maybe it'll last a few hundred more years.
You mentioned there wasn't. It's hard to find food from that region here. Is that still the case you find?
It's a lot simpler now. Yes, there are a few. I mean, before the pandemic, I would go to Italy maybe once or twice a year, and go to my friend's restaurant, hang out with him, and come up with some new ideas or some new stuff. And there are a couple things, ingredients that they have in Italy that you can't get here. I tried to bring it back, but you're not allowed, so I got caught. But I'm talking about salami. I'm not talking about anything too bad. But yeah, it would be nicer to be able to import more stuff from that region. But it's pretty good here now than it used to be, right? 25 years ago, it was a lot more difficult to find quality.
Yeah. And are there nowadays other restaurants in this area, or that do food the same sort of food that you do in the region, or is it more?
Pardon?
Are there other restaurants around the area that you know of that do foods?
Quality food?
Yeah.
There's definitely more pizza restaurants that serve a lot better pizza. They serve mostly the Neapolitan style pizza, which is not what we serve, but it's a lot better than what it used to be. Our pizza isn't Neapolitan. Our pizza, we call it traditional Italian, which is it's a little crispier crust than the Neapolitan, which is more soggy, which is good too. So it's all different. I mean, it's the quality of when we talk about the pasta. There are mostly in Vancouver fresh pasta restaurants that are actually serving fresh rolled out handmade pastas, which is really great to finally see, because it's been so long that I've been around that restaurants haven't been doing that. So it's nice to see that people are finally saying, hey, we can make this and people will like it. I wish that I had opened more restaurants, maybe, but now that it's kind of booming, the fresh pasta craze, there's actually stores that are selling fresh pasta, and people are kind of getting on to having better quality food. So it's good to see.
And what do you think of Canadian pizza and that sort of?
Canadian pizza?
Yeah, is that seen that big?
Oh, I don't want to bash people.
You can go ahead.
But I mean, I'll have a Canadian pizza occasionally, especially when you're talking with a soccer team. I coach soccer, so we're having a house party. Let's bring in some Canadian pizza, or what we call Canadian pizza, and I'll have a slice, and I'll remember why I don't eat it. I don't want to be mean, but it's the simplicity of the Italian food is it's lighter. If you get an Italian pizza, the crust is lighter, the cheese isn't slopped all over it. It's more balanced, I would say. So there's not a lot of sauce, there's not a lot of sugar. It's way more balanced than the Canadian or American pizza, which is smothered with sugar and sauce and oodles of cheese. No. So get back to your question. No, I don't like it.
What are the dishes that you're your favorite to make?
Well, my favorite to make are usually the ones that I'm favorite to eat. So, what's really traditional is the tortellini in brodo, which is tortellini soup. So we make handmade tortellini up at the restaurant, stuffed with meat, pork, prosciutto, and parmigiano. And that actually tortellini is, according to folklore, was invented in the town that I used to play soccer for in Italy. So that's one of my favorite things. That's one of the first things I learned how to make, and it's one of the things that always makes me happy to eat. If I'm not feeling well, a bowl of tortellini soup. If I'm feeling great, a bowl of tortellini soup. My dad eats tortellini soup every day at lunch. It's one of the best things in the world, I think. It soothes everything. It's brilliant. I'm getting emotional just thinking of tortellini.
And on your website, you mentioned that like your wife, the restaurant's dedicated to your wife. Sorry, when did you meet her?
I met her in 1993. She worked at Canadian Airlines where I was. Yeah, I opened the restaurant in 97. So 5 years we were together before the restaurant was made. Yeah, she's a nurse.
And how is that being like when starting up a business?
Starting up a business, we got married in 97. The restaurant was open in 97. I bought a car in 97. We got a dog in 97. We bought a condo in 97. So everything kind of happened in 97. So what she had to put up with all the stuff that I was doing was incredible that she still showed up to the church on August or December 27th was our anniversary. We had to have it at December 20th. We had to have a winter wedding because the restaurant was open and I would be there 22 hours a day or 20 hours a day. So there's no way I could leave the restaurant to go on a honeymoon or to do anything. So we decided we'll close between Christmas and New Year's, and then we can get married then, and we can go for a honeymoon. So we had a couple of days in Tofino, and that was it. So I think I probably still owe her a honeymoon and a little bit more, but so everything's okay.
Are you still spending those long hours at the restaurant?
No. My hours have changed quite a bit. I have a lot more staff. I'm not even cooking as much as I used to. I'm not spending much time in the kitchen at all anymore. I have all these cooks. I show them what to do, and then it's done. I spend a lot more time trying to organize functions for catering. We do a lot more catering functions, weddings, small catering functions. Working on menus, which, like I said, hasn't really changed much, but changing pricing, basically running the business a lot more than I used to at the beginning.
And I guess, how has COVID
Cool.
affected your business?
Well, the struggles of owning a business during COVID is incredible. It started out where it was you think it's going to be just a couple of weeks and you can handle it, it's fine. And it was fine, really. I mean, we were shut down, but we could do takeout, and takeout was probably about 10% of our business before COVID. And then all of a sudden, then it's 100% of your business. And we did a lot of takeout, and we learned a lot of how to do it better. And so it's been good that way because you had to learn to do things better, right? So once it prolonged and went on for a year, and then we shut down again, then it's now it's getting a little bit more difficult. So we're still in the middle of a shutdown where we can only do takeout. We do have a small patio that you're allowed to sit on, but the bank account is going down. I would say we're down probably about 30% in sales. It's not. We keep thinking, hopefully it's over soon. Right now, we're thinking in 2 weeks, we're going to reopen. We're going to have customers inside the restaurant, and everything's going to boom off again, hopefully. Mm-hmm. If not, I don't know. Do you want to buy a restaurant?
Not right now.
I don't know what else I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really, really, really I wouldn't say stressful. It's just disheartening and difficult to deal with. But you go along, you have to deal with it. What else are you going to do? There's nothing else you can do about it. So hopefully it's over soon and we can get on with it.
Have you felt like the community has supported you a bit with that?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, everybody thinks they're helping by doing takeout, and they are for sure. So everybody seems to be really involved with with ordering takeout, and it's been great, really. Hopefully, when it's over, we'll keep the takeout high, but also have people inside the restaurant that's sitting and drinking the bottles of wine and having fun, right? Mm-hmm. Which is one of the best parts about having a restaurant, is seeing people in the seats having wine, laughing, and not necessarily singing, but excited. And having an atmosphere is one of the best parts about having a 50-seat restaurant. Watching people walk out with a brown bag with plastic cutlery is kind of sad. It's keeping us going, and hopefully it's over. Like I said, hopefully it's over soon.
Were you type to mingle a bit with your guests when it's open, obviously, or were you more like staying in the kitchen?
I'm fairly shy, I would say. I tried. Well, especially when I first opened. When I first opened, I was the cook and everything, so I didn't have a lot of time to go out. And I know a lot of the regular customers would get upset and want me to come out, and because other Italian restaurants the owner would come out and sing songs and crap like that. But I've gotten a lot better at being able to talk to customers, so I do try to. We have so many regulars now that I go out and talk to them and see how they're doing, stuff like that. Which, when you do that, then you're upsetting the customers who are new that I don't know, that I don't talk to. So it's tough to. There's like everything else. There's a balance. You have to be. You have to make sure you're aware of what you're doing and not alienate other customers because you have regulars. So it's. I have to be careful.
Yeah. And you talked about this a bit, but like, what are the changes in the area where your restaurant is, or in Coquitlam in general, that you've noticed?
Well, I know where I lived on Dawes Hill used to be all bush, and that now is all houses, which is kind of weird. Where the restaurant used to be an old Safeway that was there forever. I remember my mom shopping there. Across the street from the Safeway was a butcher, so we'd go to the Safeway and get our groceries, and across the street to the butcher. And then the liquor store was there too, and it was just a big circle of, you have to go there to shop there, shop there, shop there, and shop there. Now there's a giant Safeway there. There's a tower, a residential tower. There's 2 more residential towers going up. So the whole neighborhood is changed. For the better, I would say yes. For me personally, having a business there, having a restaurant there, I'm going to have a lot more clients. But it's booming. I would say it's booming, and I think after this pandemic's over, it's going to be even bigger. I think, hopefully better.
Aside from your business, like, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned soccer 100 times. I don't play soccer anymore, thankfully. It hurts too much. I coach 2 teams. My daughter plays, so I watch. So my daughters play. Both of them play, so I watch them play. I coach one of them. I watch as much soccer on TV that I can. I'm an avid soccer fan. I also like other sports, so I watch all sports. And I said before that I travel. When I first opened the restaurant, I didn't travel at all. So for the first 10 years, I never left. But since things got a little bit better financially, I started to travel a lot more. So I go as many places as I possibly can. I love traveling. I love hanging out in different areas, different countries, eating different ethnic cuisine. So that's my biggest thing, is travel. I don't know if that's an activity.
Yeah. I would say so.
Other than that, I'm coaching soccer and pretty much it.
You mentioned your daughters. Do you teach them how to cook?
I haven't. I failed on that, I think. There's still time though. One of my eldest daughter is vegetarian, so she's actually vegan now, which is even more difficult to cook or for her to make her. Now she makes her own food. She does want me to make her vegan lasagna, which I've attempted, and she wants more of it, so it must have been good. Make some vegan sauces that she likes, so I keep on doing that, and I'll have to show her how to do it so she can do it herself when she's out of the house, which is next year. She's off to university. So the younger one, she's interested in running the restaurant after when she gets out of school, but cooking wise, she hasn't been taught quite yet. We'll get on that though. It's a good idea.
Have you added like vegan stuff to your menu?
I guess I try to keep things as traditional as possible. When my daughter went vegan, I decided I would try to maybe put a vegan bolognese sauce on the menu, and see if it would sell. But I haven't really done it yet because I'm thinking that it's not going to sell. But I could always try it and see what happens. That'll be in the next month or so when we reopen fully, and then we can give that a try, see if we can sell any of it. I actually like it. I was really impressed. It's pretty good.
Well, I guess is your menu? I guess. Well, you mentioned like a bunch of like prosciutto and stuff, but like, is it easy? A person like vegetarian, for example, if we come in, and would they have like meals to eat there?
There's lots of vegetarian. Well, most of the Italian food is vegetarian. The way the Italians eat, they eat an antipasto, and then they have the pasta, which is normally vegetarian. There's not usually protein in the pasta. It's just a very simple butter or tomato sauce. And then the second course would be the protein, so the chicken or the veal or the beef, whatever. Americans somehow changed it where you put the meatballs on the pasta, which is not Italian at all. The meatballs come after the pasta. But I guess to make things faster, because of the way we live our lifestyle is, how fast everything has to be done, they put the protein with the pasta. But on the menu, there's most of the menu would be vegetarian, or simply made into vegetarian.
Nice. Moving a bit in a different direction. What do you know about your family history?
My father was born in a small town called Pievepelago, which is in the mountains in Emilia-Romagna, in the province of Modena. Modena, which is in between Bologna and Modena, but it's in the province of Modena. He was born in 1937, so he was there for the World War II. But they had to move out of their house up more into the mountains, and then their house was bombed by the Americans. So when the war was over, they came back down without a house. This is the stories that I'm getting. My other side, my mother was born here. Her mother is Czech, Bohemian, and her father was a MacDonald, so Scottish. But they were both born in Canada as well. So. Other than that, I mean, I've just recently gotten into Ancestry.com for DNA analysis. So I've done it for myself. I've done it for my father. I've done it for my mother. It's quite interesting to see the family. My mother's side has a family tree, so it's all broken down. And my father's side is just building the family tree now, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and everybody's kind of jumping on board with it. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
And do you know like where your surname, like the meaning behind it, or where it came from?
Surname? Well, with the ancestry, the DNA analysis, we found out. We originally thought we were part Arabic because Azzi is an Arabic surname. If you go to Lebanon, there's millions of Azzis. So we always figured we were probably Arabic, and the Arabs came up and took over Italy. Italy went back down there and took them over. It's been going back and forth for thousands of years, right? So we always figured we were Arabic. After the DNA analysis, we figured out there's no Arab blood in us at all. So our next thought was, instead of it being an Arab name, it's probably a shortened part of a full surname, an Italian surname. So instead of saying the full surname, a lot of the surnames in Italy end with Azzi. So I think they just sliced off the front of it and just said, okay, for now on, you're just Azzi, rather than Materazzi or something longer than that. That's what we believe now. Who knows?
Yeah. What was your dad's and mom's names?
Pardon?
What's your dad and mom's name?
My father's name is William. My mother's name is Gloria. My father was named William. This is a funny story. This is a true story. His name is William because he was born during Mussolini's era. So Mussolini decided that anything Anglo-Saxon was going to be taken out of Italy. So he changed all the English terminology with whatever it was. For soccer, for example, there was soccer terms that were English that Italians used, like corner kick. They wouldn't. Mussolini came in and said, no, anything Anglo-Saxon we're taking out of here. So he made Italian words for everything that was English, that the Italians used. And so my grandfather, whose name was Adolf, named his son William, just to, we like to say, to upset Mussolini. I don't know if Mussolini knew about it, but that was his way of telling him that he wasn't going to put up with that. So I always liked that story.
Nice. Do you have like heirlooms and stuff that were?
No, I can't really think of anything that we traditionally hand down to the next generation. I mean, we have photos, but even that, there's not too much. I have a few photos up at the restaurant of my father, grandmother, grandfather, father, and two sisters that were getting on the boat in 1950 to come to Canada. So that's one of my favorite photos anyway, or heirlooms, I guess. That is an heirloom.
Oh, when did your dad come to?
He came here in 1950.
Or.
He came with two sisters and mother and father. One of the sisters stayed in Italy, and two older brothers also stayed in Italy.
And how was? Do you know how that was for him starting out here?
Oh, geez, I wish he was here to tell you stories. I don't think it was great when they came here. They obviously didn't have any money, and they weren't really welcomed like most immigrants aren't welcomed. Even happens today with other immigrants. They weren't treated very well, for sure. Well, the lack of the language, the lack of the same customs, dressed differently, and they were ostracized and treated very poorly. But the more Italians that came, obviously made it a lot easier, because at least they had their own community that they could rely on each other anyway, right? So things have changed quite a bit since then, because the Italians have moved from the east side of Vancouver into Burnaby, and even from Burnaby now they've moved out. So they're a lot more scattered than they used to be, where they were all kind of stuck in one zone, I guess. My family is probably one of the first that left the east side of Vancouver and moved all the way to Coquitlam back in 1968, 1967, which was probably a crazy thing to do for my family to do, or for my dad to do. I can't imagine doing that right now, like for me to move to Mission or something. It would be like that. Anyway.
Do you speak any other languages?
Nope. I speak a little bit of Italian. I used to speak a lot better Italian, but I don't really use it that often, so I can get by. But my Italian's not very good. And my English is so. No, my English is It gets me by.
Of course. And well, you mentioned like, you've taken your children to Italy?
Oh, several times, yes.
And how do they find that experience?
How do they?
Do they like I just like how's that experience for them?
How do they like it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I take them, it's usually for a week at a time, and then it's go go go. Let's go here, let's go there. We're going there, and it's so we're just like dragging them along. But I mean, any adventure for them is great, right? So they love it. The food, I mean, you gotta love the food. So they like it, I think.
Have you like taken them to? Well, I guess did they meet your aunts, or were they?
My aunts are all gone, but I still have cousins, so we go visit them for sure. We hang out, like I said, we hang out normally in the same region. Sometimes we do Venice or Florence or Rome, but normally it's family, and we're not there for very long because I can't really leave the restaurant for like a month at a time. I usually go for a week, maybe 10 days. So if I take off, it's for 10 days maximum, and then it's back.
And did your mom have a job?
My mom when I was born, my mom stopped working. She was a nurse. She was a nurse at St. Paul's. When I was born, she stopped being a nurse and was a full-time mother, housewife, I guess you would call it. So she did all the house chores, which was what they used to do.
I guess, was there any world events that you found particularly impactful to you growing up?
For me, growing up, I remember Elvis dying, which is weird, but I remember being in San Diego with my family. We were driving we drove all the way down to Tijuana. I think we were in San Diego, and my mom was crying. I was, what the heck's going on here? And I didn't even really know who Elvis was. So I guess that's traumatic. The other one I would think would be Mount St. Helens erupting, which was, I think I was about 12. And I remember the ash from the volcano was all over all the cars, and that didn't really affect anything I did. We still played soccer, so we still got to go outside and play. So it didn't really affect me. Other than that, I don't really think of anything. I mean, 9/11, dude, so far away. There has been some earthquakes in Italy, in the region that I'm from, but our family wasn't really affected. They're still okay. Nothing was damaged too badly. World War II, I wasn't around for that. Yeah. But I mean, that affected my family, my father's parents, but it didn't affect me.
Yeah. What sort of music do you listen to?
What type of music?
Yeah.
That's good. I don't really have. I mean, I listen to the 80s because I grew up in the 80s. That's probably my favorite stuff. But I listen to everything. I listen to heavy metal. I listen to opera. I listen to rap somewhat. I listen to Italian music. I listen to, it all depends. I listen to the blues a lot. All depends on what I'm feeling. But I even listen to country music, which I never did when I was younger. But I all of a sudden got into country music. I guess that's what happens when you get older. Yeah.
And how you spend like your kids play soccer? Do they go through the Coquitlam Metro?
Yeah. They both played for Coquitlam Metro Ford. I played for Coquitlam Metro Ford. I was on the first Coquitlam Metro Ford soccer team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Actually, my father started Coquitlam Metro Ford Soccer Club with a couple other guys back in 1985. Remember it fondly.
How old are you then?
You'll have to ask that. I'm 53.
Oh, well then when they started, when
How old was I when they started?
Yeah.
I was in grade 11, so under 18, I guess our team was. The first team would have been under 18, under 16. I don't remember.
and do you mind talking a bit about the club, like how?
Pardon?
Do you mind talking a bit about the club?
Oh.
How it functions or whatever?
Well, the club was, when it first started, it was one team. It was a select team from the area, from different clubs. So there was Bel Air, there's Cape Horn, and there was Coquitlam City, and there was Port Moody, and so they made a select club or a select team out of those players, and they played against other select teams throughout the Lower Mainland, and it basically started the Metro League. And then after that, it just snowballed into every team growing up would have a select team, which would play out of Metro Ford. Since then, the club has changed from being a select club to just a massive everything club. So they have little kids, and it's all different ages, all different categories. It's a massive club now, which is good in a way, I guess.
And how do you find the experience of coaching?
Well, I coached when I was about 17. I coached little guys, so I always loved coaching, and being on the field. Coaching is something I love to do. I love to coach more than anything else, other than eating. I love to coach. So to be on the field coaching is one of my activities. That I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's one of my favorite things to do, coaching. So I hope to be able to do that for a long time to come.
I think that's all my questions. Do you have anything that you want to add?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. It's fun.